ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
Welcome to this special program of Sikh Channel. My name is Pritpal Singh, and I'm your host for tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk to a very special friend of mine, Harjinder Singh. To start with, Harjinder Singh is a Sikh activist, a blogger, a former chaplain at the Heathrow Airport. In past, he used to write in the Sikh Times newspaper. He was also a Khalsa Aid Sevadar and has been to India in Tamil Nadu in 2004 because of the tsunami which happened in the Indian Ocean at that time. He also facilitates annual event in Ypres, which is in Belgium, to commemorate the Sikh soldiers died during the both world wars, the first and the second. This is an annual event, happens in Belgium every year. Very recently, Harjinder Singh helped mobilize Sikhs in Belgium with the Star Day event that was initiated by the Sikh Channel. Now, before I pass on to my dear friend Harjinder, I just want to inform you that the first part of the program we'll try to do in English, and we'll see how it goes at the time, and the last part, perhaps the last 10-15 minutes, we'll be doing it in Dutch because he's from the Netherlands, but he's currently living in Belgium. So we want to focus on the Sikhs issues concerning the Sikhs living in the Benelux. And we'll be also taking phone calls during the whole show. So I encourage our viewers, especially from the Netherlands and the Belgium, to do call us during this show. And if you have any questions which you would like Harjinder Singh to answer. Harjinder Singh, Vaiguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaiguru Ji Ki Fateh. Now, welcome to the Sikh Channel. First of all, I'd like to ask you to start with telling us a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Where were you born?
I was born in the southeast of the Netherlands, very close to where I am now in Belgium. Mm-hmm. And I come from a Christian background, from a Protestant Christian background, the Dutch Reformed Church. And I was 50 when I changed over to Sikhi, and we'll talk about the details of that a bit more later on. I have been to university. I studied both political science and Dutch language and literature, and I didn't finish either of them. Then I've worked for 25 years in the travel trade, and that also helped me in traveling around in the world quite a bit. By now, I've lived in the Netherlands, I've lived in Ireland, I've lived in India, and I'm now in Belgium. So, and I've lived in the UK for 10 years.
For 10 years, yes.
I am not unknown to these parts.
Tell us a bit about how do you start your initial journey with Sikhism, how you became Sikh from somebody who's, I think your mom was Catholic and your dad was Protestant, or the way around?
No, they were both from Protestant backgrounds.
Right.
Yeah. This is a long story, and I could talk till 3 o'clock in the morning, but I'll try to give the short version. Mm-hmm. I already said to you, it was about 50 when I started changing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like 50 is often an age where people start looking back on their life and saying, you know, did I do well, and is this really how I wanted to be? And I came to the conclusion that I really might have achieved some goals in the sense that I had a good job and I had, you know, I had a nice house in the center of Amsterdam and all that other thing, but I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really satisfied. I thought like that there must be more to life than this, you know. And the other thing was that I sort of, you know, like in the business culture where you always sort of after work come together in the pub and having, you know, 2 drinks, 3 drinks, 4 drinks, 5 drinks, etc. I gradually became an alcoholic. Not the sort of alcoholic that you imagine, you know, the sort of person that you see laying in the gutter and what have you. I got up every morning, I was well dressed, and I went to my work and all that. But I just drank too much, and if I didn't drink, I couldn't sleep. You know, I got what in the English so nicely called the heebie-jeebies. And So I was an alcoholic.
Right.
You know, there was no ifs or buts about it. So I wanted to change. And how do you do this?
Yeah.
And then at this time I met this guy who had just around the corner from where I lived. He had a small Punjabi dhaba. It was really like that.
That was in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, yeah. Although I come from the south, I lived most of my adult life in Amsterdam. Sorry, I should have said that. And he was a Mona.
Yeah.
He was not an Amritari Sikh or anything like that.
Satari, just
Yeah,
Mona.
no, he was just a Mona. But he had this very nice way of treating his customers. He was not commercially friendly. He had not the plastic smile. He was genuinely friendly and welcoming to the people. And he also did seva to the local people. You know, like there was an old lady living next to him, and he helped her getting her shopping in. Stuff like that. Yeah. He didn't talk about religion, but he did it. Yeah. I didn't realize where he came from, what his background was. And he started telling me, you know, when I asked him, you know, how come you are so different from most commercial restaurant owners? And he explained that his father was an Amritari Sikh.
All right.
He came from Navashehar, you know, like on the Ropar Fagwara road. And he'd done what so many Sikhs have done when they came to Europe. He cut his hair, you know, just before he got on the plane. But he kept his idea of seeing God's presence in everybody and treating everybody as your brother and sister. That he kept alive and practiced that in his business.
So that he got from his Amritari father.
Yeah.
He raised up and he got the Sikhi, and his Sikhi, even though he was Mona, attracted you.
Yeah. And just the fact that he wasn't preaching anything, but he was doing it. Yeah. It is so easy to talk about grand principles and about all sort of wonderful things that really. But so many people talk about it, but they don't do it. He didn't talk about it, but he did it. Yeah. And that appealed to me very much. It's if I can just go one step back. I grew up in an area that was overwhelmingly Roman Catholic, and we were Protestants. And there I saw two groups that were talking about God is love and all that, but they hated each other. Yeah. So they talked about the principles, but they didn't practice them. In this guy, I saw the opposite. Yeah. And that really attracted me.
And then you're changing. Did you start keeping your hair, or
no.
Start to
No. I you know, because of the drinking problem, I thought I have to make a completely clean break. I have to not stay in Amsterdam, not even go to London or Paris, because I know all the places to get drunk in there as well. Yeah? I have to go somewhere completely different.
Right.
I also had developed this idea that I wanted to know more about Sikhi.
Right.
So the answer was simple. I went to Punjab.
Right.
Yeah? I gave up my job. I owned half of a house in Dublin. I sold that. That was more than enough money to see me through in India. And I just went there.
So how long did you stay in Punjab then?
I went for a year.
For a year?
Yeah, in 1996, and I came back in 2000.
Right. So
it was a bit of a long year, you know.
So you were here in Amsterdam. You met the Sikh guy who was a Sikh.
Yeah.
Not Kesatari.
Yeah.
Still, you liked the way he treated people.
Yeah.
And you want to kick off your alcohol addiction.
Yeah.
You went to India. You planned to go to India for a year. But you stayed 4 years.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Tell us briefly, in 4 years, what you did and where you stayed.
Okay. I first went to Delhi, and I had my first paid karab in Delhi, but we won't talk about that too much. And then after about a week in Delhi, I went to Amritsar. And I had heard that you could stay in Darbar Sahib, but I'd never been to the place, so I thought, like, I first check into a hotel.
Right.
And then I'm going to see about this place and see what it's like. So I checked into a hotel just near the railway station in Amritsar. I found my way through the maze of little streets, my way to Darbar Sahib. And I mean, like, there's two things that happened immediately. The first thing was I walked on Parkarma, and you know, like, you come from the bazaar area of Amritsar, which is very dirty and smelly, and you know, all these vehicles that stink and what have you. And then you walk through the gate, and it is super clean, and you got all the white buildings around it. You see the nice Sarovar, you see the Bar Sahib there, and you hear the wonderful kirtan. From you know, I hadn't a clue what they were singing about, but from the first moment that I heard it, I was greatly impressed by it because it sounded so nice. And then I walked on the Parkarma and I turned left because I saw everybody going that way, and I came near to where you go to the Langar, to Ramdas Langar, and a little boy came to me and said, Paisap, come and eat. Yeah, right. And you know, like this sort of simple hospitality as well. You know, like so. The first two impressions were the wonderful music, the cleanliness, the purity. Yeah. And the second one was this little guy
coming to check to have food langar.
Have langar. So the next day I checked into the Niwas.
Right.
Yeah.
Guru Ramdas Niwas.
Yeah, and so sealed by fate, as I wrote once.
Right.
There is something else. On the night before I flew, I had a session with a friend of mine, and we did more than just having a few drinks, and we did a few other things that are done in Amsterdam as well. And it was the last time I smoked tobacco. It was the last time I had any alcohol. And it was the last time I smoked any pang. Yeah? Because for some reason, without me even trying, even from the moment I arrived in Delhi, from the moment I entered Delhi, I have not touched any drugs in any shape or form anymore.
Yeah. That's been more than 15 years now.
Yeah.
Right. Is that what you call kirpa, or the concept of kirpa, grace in Sikh faith?
Yeah. You see, like I mean, we've been listening to the previous program. Yeah. Now, I've learned after I went through this experience something about AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous. Right. Yeah? And their teaching is very simple. Their teaching is this addiction is too strong for you. You need spiritual help. You need God. We don't mind what you call God. Call God Allah or Ram or Rahim or any Muslim or Sikh or Buddhist or whatever word. Yeah? But you have to sort of go on your knees and say to God, please, please help me, because this is too big for me. Yeah? That's what I did.
Right.
Yeah? I didn't know that it was there's anything to do with AA or any sort of standard, but that's exactly what I did. I want to change. I want to become more fulfilled, and I want to get rid of this addiction.
And the change happened.
And the change happened. Yeah. It was tough, because if you all of a sudden stop smoking and drinking and smoking pang is not all that addictive physically, but it is habit forming.
Right.
And if you leave all the three in one go, I couldn't sleep. Yeah, I won't dwell on it too long, but I can sum it up like this. In the beginning, either I went to bed and I couldn't sleep at all until sort of the last hour before I was meant to get up. I had a fitful sleep for an hour maybe. Or I was so knackered, so tired the next day that I fell asleep, but within an hour I was awake again, and the thoughts, all the things that you've been suppressing. Yeah? Because by drinking alcohol every night, you don't dream. The thoughts of things in the past that you've done and you're not so happy about, they are all suppressed, they're all pushed away, and they all came back. Yeah? So it wasn't easy. But there was something else. And I heard one day people talking about me. And they said, this guy always has like his eyes shine.
Right.
Yeah. And I know what it was. I know exactly what it was, because I started.
A sparkle in your eyes.
A sparkle in my eyes, and because I started getting nearer to God.
Right.
Yeah. So I was physically troubled, but I was happy. I was in Chardikala. I didn't know the word yet, but I was in Chardikala.
So in 4 years, very briefly, what else did you do in 4 years? Because 4 years is a very long time of somebody's life.
I like you can say the first 3-4 months were completely dedicated to, getting rid of the addiction and changing to a new lifestyle and what have you. And from about the third or fourth month, I started doing path. I met somebody and he gave me a translation of Sukhmani Sahib. Right. And I think that was a very good choice.
English?
English with the Harbans Singh Duabia with the original text and the transcription and the English translation. Right. And I think it was a good idea to start with Sukhmani Sahib because Guru Arjan has a very nice way of simply say very deep things. Right. Yeah, and you often find also in translations of Guru Granth Sahib that a lot of the poetry of Guru Arjan translates easier than, for instance, the earlier writings, the older writings of Guru Nanak. Yeah. So I read that, and then I started with the nickname. And then that guy, he gave me the 8 books, the full translation of Guru Granth Sahib by Manmohan Singh. Yeah. And that also has, the original text, and next to it, the translation. And it has the key word numbered. So if it says Prab in the original text, or Prabhu, yeah, then it says God in the English with both the number ek or the number do or whatever it is. So you can see which word led to what. Okay, so that was the initial program. I started doing Path, I started reading the Guru Granth Sahib. Then I met this guy who was a Hindu guy. He became a very good friend of mine, and he had a little shop. Mm-hmm. And he was a bit low on capital. And what he did was every Sunday he went to Ludhiana and he bought like ready-made clothes, and he sold them in Amritsar. Right. So I joined his business. I put some money in it, not so much because I was looking for earning something, but there is more to life than just doing path. Right. Yeah, and that was nice. That was good. And,
so you are this white guy.
Yeah.
In the middle of Amritsar. Amritsar is not really a touristic place. It's not Jaipur or.
No, exactly.
Or Agra or
No.
And how was it living as a white European in the middle of Punjab, especially in Amritsar?
Yeah. I have had very few negative experiences. Very few. Most people were very loving and very open. Mm-hmm. And I was living, not in any posh area, but in a little neighborhood, a little mohalla in the neighborhood, 5-10 minutes walk from Darbar Sahib. Mm-hmm. One of these areas where the streets, well, I won't exaggerate, they were about this wide, gullies. Yeah? I could shake hands with the neighbors through my window. But the people were, almost all of them, very welcoming, loving. Mm-hmm. Yeah? The kids, they were very keen on me. They all called me Angre's uncle. So I was, like, if you come as a Punjabi to England or to the Netherlands or Belgium, you don't get that reception that I got in Punjab. Yeah? The famous Punjabi hospitality. Okay. Yeah. The famous Punjabi hospitality was met with in a big way.
Right. I think we are ready now to take phone calls. So if any of the callers want to join us, so please, you can do it now. We're waiting for our colleague to tell us when the calls are ready. Before I receive a phone call, can you just tell me, now talk a little about Amrit. You took Amrit, how long were you in Punjab?
Okay, I was in Amritsar roughly sort of like around the 18th of January. I can't remember exactly, but I spent about a bit more than a week in Delhi, and then about the 18th of January I came to Amritsar. Mm-hmm. And on the 14th of July of that same year, I took Amrit.
So within 6 months, you become a baptized Sikh?
Yeah, well, I don't... Well, I'm not very keen on that word baptized, because it's quite different from what Christian baptism is. But I always use I was an initiated Sikh. If I have to, I was initiated in the order of the Khalsa. Yeah. And that sounds stupid in the sense.
That sounds very, very fast to me.
Yeah. But you see, like, my main job during that time was studying Sikhi, reading the Guru Granth Sahib, doing seva in Darbar Sahib.
Full stop for six months.
Cleaning the lasan, cleaning the piyaz, cleaning the parkarma, So my main interest, my focus was on learning more about Sikhi and learning how to practice Sikhi. Mm-hmm. And because of the big changes in me, yeah, both physically but also mentally, you can say my third eye was wide open, yeah. And my 10th body opening was wide open, yeah? And I was fully open to new spiritual experiences. And I mean, like, the moment really that defined my further development was one morning after bringing in the Guru Granth Sahib from well, it wasn't in Akal Takht yet, because Akal Takht was still under reconstruction. Right. But in the building, you know, where we have the two Nishan Sahibs?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, they kept on the right-hand side. They kept the Guru Granth Sahib there, and we brought in the Guru Granth Sahib. And then I usually went to the back side, you know, where the Har Ki Pauri is, because inside Darbar Sahib is big rush, you know. So I sat outside, and I had darshan.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I had a big experience of God, and I tell you, I had a smile from ear to ear, and the tears were streaming from my eyes at the same time. Right. Yeah, it was just it didn't have a vision, but it was a very strong emotion, yeah, which sort of elated me, you know, like made me really happy and feeling very moved and feeling very close to God.
Can you check with my colleague if the callers are ready? Virender Singh ji? Well, we're still waiting for the sign. Yep. Them to. So you stayed there 4 years, and then what happened? You decided to come back to Europe?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, as I said, you know, in Harjinder Sahib, in Amritsar, I stayed for 2.5 years.
Right.
And that was basically, you know, like either working with my friend in a little business or doing seva in Darbar Sahib. And then the last 1.5 years I spent in Chandigarh. And there I had a more formal role because I was one of the editors of the journal of the Institute of Sikh Studies. The journal was published in English. And of course the authors were Punjabis.
Right.
And they had all reasonable English, but it needed a bit of, you know, sprucing up and what have you. Right. And the irony was that the two editors, one was a Danish lady and the other one was a Dutch gentleman.
Oh, right. So both Europeans, you were editors of this paper.
And we were both Sikhs.
Sikhs, yeah. And that was in Chandigarh.
And that was in Chandigarh.
You stayed there for 1.5 years.
For 1.5 years. Yeah, exactly.
And then you decided to move back to Europe.
Yeah, in 2000, it was like February 2000 I came back. And I had really sort of...
And where did you come? You went back to the Netherlands?
Hang on, because I had a long think about it.
Right.
There were two reasons why I didn't want to go back to the Netherlands. The first one was that I was still worried that if I went back to my old haunts, I would go back to my old habits. Yeah. And the second one was that I was really looking for somewhere where there was a big enough Sikh community, you know, a well-established big Sikh community where you had the sort of Gurdwara that would offer the same sort of things that I would get from Darbar Sahib or from the other big historical Gurdwaras, you know, like Bangla Sahib or Sijganj.
And where was that place?
And that place, it starts with L and ends with N. It's called London.
London, but I think it's more talking about more Southall.
Yes. I had been to Southall once before.
Right.
Yeah, years and years ago,
right.
when everybody there was still Mona.
Yeah.
So I had some inkling. You know that horrible green building when you come from the railway station and you turn left, yeah, and you go into the green. There is this old green office block that's been standing empty for yonks. And the company that I worked for, they had their head offices there.
Oh, right.
And that was my first visit to Southall.
So then you choose to come to London.
Yeah.
Because you thought there were more Sikhs living in London, so you'll be able to connect much better.
And also, you see, one of the things that I wanted to do very badly was share my experiences with others.
Right.
Yeah. Now in Punjab, I had this big problem that my Punjabi was just not up to, you know, dealing with full Punjabi speakers. I mean, I can talk to Punjabi speakers who have a bit of English, right. Yeah, where I can use my bit of Punjabi and they their bit of English. But if it's, you know, to go to a Punjabi village and talk about Sikhi, I just can't do that. Yeah, and if you start to learn a completely new language at age 50. That's tough.
Let's focus now on your work in the UK. You stayed here for 10 years, right, before moving back to Belgium. What did you do?
And you've mentioned already Guru's Kirpa.
Yeah.
I have been offered jobs all along the line.
Right.
I made myself available, you can say. Yeah, I was there, and I jumped at opportunities, but even, like within a fairly short time after arriving here, I had a part-time position with the Sikh human rights group of Dr. Jasdev Singh Rai, and I worked there for a year, and then I got through Jagdish Singh from Slough, somebody that people might know. He put me on in connection with the Slough Race Equality Council, who needed people to receive visitors in the Gurdwara, non-Sikh visitors.
That was in Slough.
That was in Slough.
Right.
And then I got some training from them, and I started doing independently full trainings on, in general the field of equalities, not just in culture and religion, but also disabilities and stuff like that, And that, that got me, those two together got me sort of through the first 5 years. And they were both, jobs that had an element of, I was making a living. Yeah. I was getting my basic wage.
But also serving the
community. But I was also serving the community, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Which is the main concept of Sikh, like seva.
Yeah, and I think, you can also do your job with a seva mentality. Yeah? If you work in the bank, you can treat your customers as if they are pieces of filth, and you can treat your customers with respect. Mm-hmm. You can truly try to help your customers, or you can try to get rid of them as soon as possible.
Right.
Yeah? Anything you do, you can have the spirit of seva, introduce the spirit of seva into it.
Absolutely.
And then it becomes a completely different thing. It becomes part of your life. And anyway, the second half of the 10 years I spent in England was mostly working in conjunction with an organization called Faith and Beliefs in Further Education. Faiths and Beliefs. The beliefs are humanist, for instance, the non-religious beliefs, right. and the faiths were basically all the faiths that are practiced in this country,
right.
and that even included Jainas and Parsis and what have you. Yeah.
So what did you do with them? You worked, you said, at the colleges.
Yeah, our main work was with further education colleges, like here in Beaconsfield Road, for instance. Yeah.
Right. The Southern College.
Yeah, and we went there and we helped them set up sessions where people of different faiths would be available for questions, or we'll do a little introduction and people could ask. Or sometimes we organize a little sort of mela in a hall, like all the faiths had a market stall.
Okay.
Not to sell their faith, right. but to give information about their
bring
faith.
awareness of different faiths.
Sometimes there was a dialogue between me, for instance, and somebody, me and a Christian, or me and a Muslim, and sort of highlighting what are the differences, what are the things in common, and what are the things that we do differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything to, like a lot of the tensions between faith, people of different faiths and different cultures are because people don't know. They don't know. They see you with the pak, and they don't know why. Yeah. They see you with the beard, and they don't know why. They see, this big kirpan,
yeah.
and they think this must be an aggressive so-and-so.
Yeah, I have the same, I've been through my personal life as well. So people have prejudiced way of thinking, the way you dress, the way you look. People have perceptions, this is you are, do you belong to that group? Or they don't know much about it.
Many people, I know is that, we were talking about Belgium, I know is that a lot in Belgium as well. People think that because I dress like this, that the statement means I do not want to belong to Belgium. Yeah? That's not what it means at all. Yeah? And I think our guru tells us to live in society. And if you happen to be in Belgium, that society is Belgium society. If you happen to be in UK, it's UK society. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are not a Punjabi faith. We are a faith that originated in Punjab.
Yeah.
And we have very important roots there, a lot of history. And I'm not doing away with that at all. But we are not a Punjabi faith, and God doesn't belong to Punjab, and God doesn't belong specifically to Belgium or to UK or what have you. Yeah? Read Japsap, it tells you all about it. But doing away with these prejudices and introducing the young people to people of different, like if you live in London and you see a Sikh and a Muslim and a Hindu, for instance, sitting next to each other. And they're friendly with each other.
Yeah.
They know each other and they can work together.
Yeah.
That in itself is mind-blowing for many people. Yeah?
I agree with you. I agree with you on that, definitely. I've seen it through my own work. People are from different backgrounds, different color, different races. We work together.
Yep.
And seems to work very fine, especially in London, which is very multicultural.
But we also nowadays have that diversity in Sikhi. We have that nice picture with you and Ramkor, who is, I think she's from Caribbean background.
She's from Caribbean background.
Background, and myself. So there's a Dutch Sikh, an Afghani Sikh, and a Caribbean Sikh.
Yeah.
Yeah? And nobody can say anything about Ramkor because he is a very fine Singhali.
Definitely.
Yeah?
We know her very well.
And you know, like, it's something that, I mean, most people will say Sikhi is for everybody, but a lot of people have sort of in their mind that you really have to be a Punjabi to be a Sikh.
To be a Sikh.
Yeah?
You don't have to, when you talk about Punjabi, all I can say to my viewers is that Harjinder Singh is very well versed in Guru Granth Sahib. He can read Guru Granth Sahib Ji. He does part. He used to do part at the Singh Sabha Gurdwara in Hounslow on regular basis, and he does Ardas fluently without any problem in Punjabi, and he can read Punjabi very well as well. The only problem he has sometimes he doesn't speak as fluently. However, he does read, and
I know more about Guru's language than about spoken Punjabi.
That's true.
Yeah?
That's true. So Harjinder, I now want to come to the work you did as a chaplain at this Heathrow Airport, which is very important now because issues we have these days, especially with yourself as Amritari Sikh with the kirpan, with the turban, with the dastar, with the kada, we had the Dastar Day. Tell us your experience as a chaplain. As a Sikh chaplain at Heathrow Airport, what was it?
But in the first place, of course, the role of a chaplain, you know, whether it's in further education colleges or in university or that, is to be a listening ear. Yeah? And in all these situations, because I've been involved a little bit with universities as well, is the chaplain should be open to anybody who feels comfortable to talk to him.
Regardless of your religious background.
Yeah, exactly. I am a Sikh, and I make no secret about it, as everybody can see. Yeah. But if you are part of a multi-faith chaplaincy, you're not forcing yourself on people, on anybody, whether they're your own faith or not. But if a Muslim comes to me and wants to talk to me, then he can or she can. Yeah? And I mean, like, there are a lot of people who are looking for somebody that they can talk to, which is informal, which is not, you know, official counseling that provided by the employer or anything like that, so that they can't get branded as somebody like with a problem. Yeah? And where they know that it's not going to be talked about. Yeah? So confidential. Yeah? That is very important. Now, the other part of the work that we did, and that is what you were referring to, is almost like being, you know, like a trade union man, yeah, for the Sikhs. Any Sikh who had any trouble about whether it's Kara or the beard or the star or you know,
they can come and see and speak to you.
And they came to us, especially my good friend and colleague Amrik Singh. They became a great expert in all these things.
I see him often on the local. Is it Skyport?
Yeah, the Skyport newspaper. Yeah. And so, you know, like, again, the rules allow us to wear the full 5Ks at Heathrow. Yeah. The rules allow us to have a beard and a park and what have you. Yeah. But often there is either misunderstandings or the security personnel has a prejudice or what have you. Yeah. But because we are experienced and we're a bit older, we have to sort of the way to go to these people or to their bosses and say, listen, you know, there's a bit of a problem here, let's talk it over. And almost always we've been able to solve it, both with the big companies like BAA, but also with small employers, because there is many people, the bulk of the Sikhs work for BA or BAA, but there are also many small employers at Heathrow. Yeah. And they are often the ones that
Get more problems.
They have more problems because they don't have the big
organization,
the big organization that knows all about. We had it through Heathrow. I was called by somebody. Somebody knew about our work at Heathrow, and they called me and said, "Can you come to Slough because there is this cleaning company that I work for. I'm an Amritari woman, and they don't even know anything about Sikhi."
Right.
Yeah, and I wrote a very nice letter explaining everything, and I also pointed out to the anti-discrimination legislation, etc., etc. And they contacted us, and it was just at the time that I was about to leave for Belgium. So Amrik Singh has followed it up, and the company was very grateful
to give you information,
because they said we just didn't know. Yeah, we now realize that we made a mistake by refusing this woman. Yeah.
Because eventually you could have taken her to tribunal, and that could have ended up costing perhaps more money.
Yeah.
But that was just
then that will create so much bad blood, you know.
Yeah.
And what we have achieved now was that both the company and the employee were happy.
Happy, yes.
Yeah? And we proved also that the company was not, you know, like they weren't racist or anything. They didn't know.
They didn't know. They're ignorant of the law.
Yeah. If you are ignorant, that's not bad. But if you're not willing to listen to somebody who knows more, then you're stupid. And this company wasn't stupid like that. They were very happy that somebody came and explained things to them.
So that just wraps about your work briefly in the UK. Of course, when we have another show, we can talk more about it. But now I'll go to Belgium. When and why you decided to leave UK and go to Belgium?
You already mentioned Ypres. Ypres, or people sometimes call it vipers, which is not the right pronunciation. I promise.
What is the French pronunciation?
No, the French pronunciation is Ypres.
Ypres.
And in Flemish it's Ypres. And for some reason, most English people use the French spelling, which is Y-P-R-E-S. It was one of the major battlefields. Yeah, okay. It was one of the major battlefields in the First World War. Yeah, and because the Brits were very low on a standing army, what they did was the war broke out somewhere in I think in the spring of 1914, and by October 1914, 2 divisions of the British Indian Army were brought over. It was the Lahore and the Meerut division.
Lahore and Meerut division.
Yeah, so Lahore from the capital of Punjab, and Meerut is in Uttar Pradesh, but it is also, you know, part of the northwest.
Yeah.
And many of the soldiers were Sikhs. Or that was, you know, you had Sikh regiments in which you had to be an Amritari Sikh, and you had like Punjabi regiments where you had many Sikhs who might or might not be Amritaris.
Yes.
You even had special regiments for must-be Sikhs, for low caste Sikhs, because the British Army followed the caste divisions. And the pioneers, the ones that sort of like would make roads for the army to do, you know, like they did a lot of sort of preparatory work that sort of the army, exactly. They were mostly Muslims, for instance. Anyway, so I kept going there, and through that I got in touch with the Belgium Sikh community. But there is a man here putting up 2 fingers, and he's not being rude. He's saying that we are almost at the end of our time. So I think that another occasion we will have to talk more about the Belgium situation. I just quickly say there are at the moment 4 Gurdwaras in Belgium. 3 of them are in the Flemish-speaking area, on the Flemish, Dutch, the northern part, and one of them is near Liège or Luik in the Walloon-speaking area. But Luik is very near to where I am now in Belgium, Limburg. So really, the 3 of the Gurdwaras, they are also within 50 kilometers distance of each other. Yeah? They are all, the majority in the community that I am in, all the adults are first generation. And they speak some Dutch,
but not very well.
And then there's a new generation coming up that's now in sort of secondary school.
So you are kind of mediator between.
Yeah, I do a lot of paperwork. I do a lot of sort of applying for the permission to do the Nagar Kirtan, talk to the schools.
So basically, you are representing the Sikh community.
Yeah.
In Belgium.
I am sort of spokesman, stroke ambassador, stroke whatever. Yeah. And it is very satisfactory because I am of use. Yeah? Being useful is good, I think.
Well, the time flies away, and we want to talk to our viewers in Belgium and Netherlands as well. I'm afraid the time is not allowing us. I want to thank Harjinder Singh on behalf of Sikh Channel for being with us, and I hope he has inspired the viewers like he inspired me about a decade ago. Again, I thank our colleagues of Sikh Channel as well as Harjinder Singh. And before I wrap up the program, can I ask, do you want to say any last few words you want to say to our viewers? Or just give us
I'll say something very simple.
About your blog?
It's much more simple. If you stick to Guru's word, you will become more happy, you will become content, you will become a better person. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Now, before I pass on to my dear friend Harjinder, I just want to inform you that the first part of the program we'll try to do in English, and we'll see how it goes at the time, and the last part, perhaps the last 10-15 minutes, we'll be doing it in Dutch because A, he's from the Netherlands, but he's currently living in Belgium, so we want to focus on the 6 issues concerning the Sikhs living in the Benelux. And we'll be also taking phone calls during the whole show, so I encourage our viewers, especially from the Netherlands and the Belgium, to do call us during this show, and if you have any questions which you would like Harjinder Singh to answer. Harjinder Singh, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Now, welcome to the Sikh Channel. First of all, I'd like to ask you to start with telling us a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Where were you born?
I was born in the southeast of the Netherlands, very close to where I am now in Belgium. Mm-hmm. And I come from a Christian background, from a Protestant Christian background, the Dutch Reformed Church. And I wanted to change. And how do you do this?
Yeah.
And then at this time I met this guy who had just around the corner from where I lived. He had a small Punjabi dhaba. It was really like that.
That was in Amsterdam?
In Amsterdam, yeah. Although I come from the south, I lived most of my adult life in Amsterdam. Sorry, I should have said that. And he was a Mona.
Yeah.
He was not an Amritari Sikh or anything like that.
Kesatari, just
yeah,
Mona.
No, he was just a Mona. Mm-hmm. But he had this very nice way of treating his customers. He was not commercially friendly, he had not the plastic smile, he was genuinely friendly and welcoming to the people. And he also did seva to the local people, like there was an old lady living next to him and he helped her getting her shopping in. Right. Stuff like that. Yeah? He didn't talk about religion, but he did it. Mm. Yeah? I didn't realize where he came from, what his background was. And he started telling me, when I asked him, how come you are so different from most commercial restaurant owners? And he explained that his father was an Amritari Sikh.
All right.
He came from Navashehar, like on the Ropar, Fagwara Road. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Welcome to the special program of Sikh Channel. My name is Pritpal Singh, and I'm your host for tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk to a very special friend of mine, Harjinder Singh. To start with, Harjinder Singh is a Sikh activist, a blogger, a former chaplain at the Heathrow Airport. In past, he used to write in the Sikh Times newspaper. He was also a Khalsa Aid Sevadar and has been to India, in Tamil Nadu in 2004, because of the tsunami which happened in the Indian Ocean at that time. He also facilitates annual event in Ypres, which is in Belgium, to commemorate the Sikh soldiers died during both World Wars, the first and the second. This is an annual event, happens in Belgium every year. Very recently, Harjinder Singh helped mobilize Sikhs in Belgium with the Star Day event that was initiated by the Sikh Channel.
50 when I changed over to Sikhi, and we'll talk about the details of that a bit more later on. I have been to university. I studied both political science and Dutch language and literature, and I didn't finish either of them. Then I've worked for 25 years in the travel trade, and that also helped me in traveling around in the world quite a bit. By now, I've lived in the Netherlands, I've lived in Ireland, I've lived in India, and I'm now in Belgium. So I've lived in the UK for 10 years.
For 10 years, yes.
I am not unknown to these parts.
Tell us a bit about how do you start your initial journey with the Sikhism? How you became Sikh from somebody who's, I think your mom was Catholic and your dad was Protestant, or the way around?
No, they were both from Protestant
backgrounds.
Background. Yeah. This is a long story, and I could talk till 3 o'clock in the morning, but I'll try to give the short version. I already said to you, it was about 50 when I started changing. And, you know, like 50 is often an age where people start looking back on their life and saying, you know, did I do well? And is this really how I wanted to be? And I came to the conclusion that I really might have achieved some goals in the sense that I had a good job and I had, you know, I had a nice house in the center of Amsterdam and all that other thing, but I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really satisfied. I thought like that there must be more to life than this, you know. And the other thing was that I sort of, you know, like in the business culture where you always sort of after work come together in the pub and having, you know, 2 drinks, 3 drinks, 4 drinks, 5 drinks, etc. I gradually became an alcoholic. Not the sort of alcoholic that you imagine, you know, the sort of person that you see laying in the gutter and what have you. I got up every morning, I was well dressed, and I went to my work and all that. But I just drank too much, and if I didn't drink, I couldn't sleep. You know, I got what the English so nicely call the heebie-jeebies. And so I was an alcoholic.
Right.
You know, there was no ifs or buts about it. So